3, 2, 1. Mark. Okie dokie.
Ow, my hands really hurt. I clapped too hard.
Poor baby.
And let me start
Oh my
the
god.
slideshow.
I need everyone to know that I'm a very sleepy boy, so if you get the delirium early, that's what's happening to me.
Okay.
Understood.
That's
Registered, yeah.
reasonable. I'm fully
Yeah.
nocturnal at this point, so I'm good. I'm locked in. I'm good to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't nap at nursery, so this afternoon was sorry, Devin, can you bleep just in case bleep that name? The little one was did not sleep in nursery, so put down was interesting. She was just crying the whole evening, so poor little
no.
one.
Oh,
Just emotion, you know. Anyway,
that's what they do. That's what they're programmed to do.
She's very good normally. She's a good sport. So when she's crying, it's normally there's something serious up, or she's just completely knackered. In this case, it was the latter.
She's just
But
like me in that
also,
respect.
Yeah,
you know?
me too. I also cry when I'm tired.
Well, I've had to lock Milkshake out of the room because he was getting really aggressive about trying to get on my head.
Because he's just horned up. He's just horned up.
He's got like
really
a parasocial relationship with you. Yeah.
Yes, this is true.
I can't believe this creature that I feed and house has affection for me and also wants to hump my head, maybe.
All right.
Enough jokes.
Welcome to Well, There's Your Problem. It's a podcast about engineering disasters with slides. I'm Justin Rosniak. I'm the person who's talking right now. My pronouns are he and him. Okay, go.
I'm November Kelly. I'm the person who's talking now. My pronouns are she and her. Yay, Liam. You okay there, buddy?
Yeah, I'm great. Yay, Liam. Hi, I'm Liam McAnderson. I'm the person talking right now. Very sleepy. Sleum, if you will. Very sleepy Liam.
You sound like, you know the bit in Howl's Moving Castle where he's kind of like mostly goo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm 30% goo. Not the fun kind, the bad kind. It's drop and run goo.
Ooh.
Oh, we get to talk about goo later in this episode.
Oh, are people turned into
foreshadowing.
goo? Is there some sort of goo?
No, there's goo involved.
Oh, I don't like it when there's goo involved. And I'll bringing up the rear is Gareth.
It's me.
Gareth,
It's
Christ.
the other guy, the other temp co-host of W2RP. Yeah, my name's Gareth Dennis. My pronouns are he and him. And I was forced under duress to change a slider position on my Go XLR Mini that had been in position for months under instruction of Nova of this parish. I was forced to, under sort of threat of violence by a certain Dr. Eleanor Yaniga. I've now readjusted it back to where it was supposed to be again. So
we hate to like ever change anything on our audio mixes. Is the thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
To ask me to do so is like you threaten
Ask
me
you
with
to
violence.
cut off a limb, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, of course. I've got the same mediocre audio setup I've always had, and I'll ride it into oblivion.
Oh, yeah.
That's the problem with audio setups. Is it's like you put it together once and you're like, I'm never touching this.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, you guys have heard travel setups V1 through 17 or whatever I'm on now.
I remember you were on a beach, I think, once in a long past episode, like we're talking like a long time ago.
London
and you like
Fire,
took
I think, yeah.
a mic stand, which then you lost on the way to the beach. These are the setups that are,
Yeah,
lost
just
to
like
history.
screaming into like half of a hollowed out coconut on a string.
Yeah, that's me. You guys seen Castaway, right? Being Tom Hanks.
Castaway on the Jersey Shore.
Hey, that's thematic because in Castaway there is an aviation incident of a sort, and
It's true.
we're appear to be looking at one of those now.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think it's supposed to look like that.
What you see here is the tail of a Boeing 737-200 being
Where's
lifted
the rest of him?
by the crane out of the Potomac River
Oh,
in Washington, D.C.
And you're telling me that this was caused by a goo?
A lack of goo.
is this going to be is this going to be the gray goo theory, but just for devouring 737s?
No, we'll get to that in a bit. Today we're going to talk about the exciting story of Air Florida Flight 90.
There's nothing exciting about Florida, man.
Well, yeah, it's kind of well, you
The
can,
land
you
that
can,
God forgot.
Even in this case, they've exported their excitement to the Potomac River in this instance.
you can go to Epcot. You
I
can
do
go
like
to,
you don't have to do that.
You can get killed by a hurricane. You can meet the influencer lady, Carol. What's her face?
Shelby?
No, the
Baskin. Carol Baskin?
No,
if you live
who
in
the fuck
if you
am I
live in
thinking?
Tampa, if you live in
Carol
Tampa,
Cadwell.
you can
No, who the fuck? Caroline Calloway. You can meet Caroline Calloway.
Oh, yeah. I don't know who that is.
Okay. Well, this whole conversation was dead.
Yeah.
I told you
I
told you the delirium had set in. And if it's up to me, we're gonna make this thing last 3 hours as some form of self-flagellation.
Yeah.
I want us to do just the opposite. I want us to try and
Speed
answer
run.
the critics by taking out all of the tangents. We just keep in the stuff that's like, straight down the line engineering material. Every podcast is 12 minutes long.
No,
Look,
I will quit the
people
show
want
before we do that.
Shut off the podcast right now. Go watch the Mentor pilot video. That's only about 30 minutes. This is not going to be 30 minutes.
None of us are pilots as well.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, we have instead of a pilot, we have a railway engineer on.
Yeah, you did do that.
We're like the opposite of authorities, and this is the thing, right? And this is something that's been bothering me lately. This is a sequence of events in itself. In order to look up when we are doing our own tour, I had to Google it to double check, and that led me to the realization that we have a subreddit, right, which appears to be comprised entirely of people who used to listen to this podcast and now don't for one reason or another. And there are 2 threads on there that aren't just like, "Hey, the new episode is out," and they're both about me being confidently wrong about things. Brutal.
Part of me kind of likes that. There's a
No, it's genuinely like 2 sets of people going, "Hey, is anyone else noticing that November is kind of a fucking idiot?" And it's like, I'm aware of this, but like,
I have things to disagree with on that statement.
Abby said something useful on a recent Kill James Bond, if I recall, which is that the reviews are not for you.
That's true, but when they're kind of pointed in your direction, I mean, I try to keep a healthy sense of perspective, right? Because of the people who are like maddest at me that I could tell, they were maddest at me for disrespecting Rania Khalek and disrespecting Barney the dinosaur. So
fuck that guy.
On both of those bases, I feel okay. But I just have to remind people that I'm not an expert in anything, right? And if I sound confident about things, it's just because I'm trying to make jokes. I don't know anything about anything.
That's what we're all here to learn.
You're a comedian. That's your whole point.
Don't
professionally an idiot.
Don't tell us that we're comedians. I don't want to have to file that text. I'm like, I know. I think my webcam's on. I don't remember, but I'm hunched over, clutching this seltzer, wishing for the end times.
Oh yeah. It's been the last episode recording where like your webcam froze with your head in your hands. I thought, well, this is funny, and then it continued, and we're like, is Liam okay? Have we broken Liam?
Sort of genuinely concerned.
Yeah. No, it's just fucking Zencaster again.
Yeah. Before we talk about the end times, we have to do. Oh, we do have announcements. I forgot to put the slide in.
That's fine. We can sing it. We can put it in post.
We have a tour. If you want to find out where it is, go to our subreddit, scroll past all the threads making fun of me for not knowing what I'm talking about. It'll be on there. There are dates.
It's still it'll also be in the description as well.
Oh, it's way simpler, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We're nearly sold out in Washington, D.C.
We are sold out in D.C., dude.
We are sold out in D.C.
Yeah, we sold out in D.C.
If you want to come see us on a Tuesday in New York, there are still tickets to that show. And there are still a good amount of tickets left at the Fillmore. We do need to fill more seats at the Fillmore.
Did you see the email we got today from an unnamed venue that didn't want us there the first time?
No, I did
Oh,
not.
They come crawling back.
They all bend the knee. I texted my wife as soon as I got that fucking email, and I was like, and it was actually, I could name the venue that really didn't want us because we're never going to play there as long as I can help it, which is World Cafe Live. What's up, you motherfuckers?
Oh, I couldn't think of another venue that. Yeah, that's the only one I knew they didn't like us. Anyway,
I was
posting on the
beef.
subreddit. Sorry, I've been trying not to obsess over this fucking thing for like 2 days now.
Okay, don't look at the subreddit.
No,
you know, and anyway,
Never go on Reddit. Why should you be able to get a sentence off?
World Cafe Live, although
No, I
they
already did that, bud.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, well, okay.
Oh,
Now
you'll
let's
take
do-
that tone, yeah.
Let's do the goddamn news before we impugn anyone else.
I barely impugned them.
I love you all so much.
We're gonna have to take a couple mulligans on on the
we're
goddamn
sorry.
news from last week.
Fucked that up real
because,
bad.
I asked
actually-
you fuckers for a decade where weeks happen, and what did I get? More weeks where decades happen.
I was about to say, yeah. I mean, especially given the release cycle of this podcast, some even more wild shit will have happened by the time this comes out. Anyway, so while we were recording the previous episode, the wildfires were really bad in Los Angeles, and they got significantly worse over the course of recording them. So I said something along the lines of, well, it's only affecting the houses of the multimillionaires and the billionaires. Hasn't come down the mountain down to the ordinary millionaires. No, it pretty much destroyed the entire town of Altadena.
Altadena is like destroyed now. It's really bad. And I mean, this is kind of a general problem with the goddamn news generally, right? Is that first of all, it moves faster than we do because we're a very lethargic and like sluggish podcast.
Yes,
we like to
tummy
conserve
hurts.
energy. All of our tummies hurt. But also, we're trying to do a comedy podcast about horrible things.
Yeah.
And it's like genuinely like
It's tough.
we don't always hit the tone that we want
hit the
to.
mark. Yeah. We sometimes miss the mark.
Yeah, and I think this was one of them, right? Where I mean, it's not even out yet, so I don't even know. But like, it's one of those things where we were really like on a kind of tightrope there of trying to be like, what can we possibly say about this? And that's like more and more, you know. But I think it's still worth doing. It's just, you know, how are we not going to talk about a bunch of cars getting crushed by a bulldozer?
So this is one of those things
point,
where we think about like some things are best left to stew and look at the aftermath, but some things are so apocalyptic that you've got to. It'd be a bit, you know, we get called out if we didn't engage with it, right? You know, so
it's a good point. You know, and then now we're starting to look into the cleanup section of the whole situation. And it's like Gavin Newsom has decided, okay, we're going to suspend environmental laws so we can rebuild more quickly on these places that probably shouldn't have houses on them.
Yeah, we're gonna build them even more shoddily and, you know, even more sort of fire prone just to get to build them back quicker.
Build them out of balsa, right?
Yeah.
Build back better. Build back better balsa.
And
build back
you know,
burner.
Yeah, exactly. God forbid you put any multifamily in there, like, you know, try and concentrate housing in areas that are less fire prone. No, it's going to be all single family homes forever.
As a kind of like Glasgow resident, I have some exposure of this strange phenomenon whereby anything burning down somehow turns to property developers' advantage.
Every time.
Yeah, it's a real mystery, right?
Well,
like,
in this
I'm not
case,
sure.
Maybe we'll get away with it because none of the new houses will be insurable. So we do have that on our side.
50 stories of apartments on top of the Charles Rennie McIntosh School. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's one
Damn,
day
it
before
burned
the
down.
fire
It burned
suppression
down
system.
again. It's burned down again. It's time to put another 50 stories on top.
Yeah. Every single time it just grows. It just becomes Taipei 101 after two fires.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so this is fucking horrifying as ever. Like, I feel like most of what we talk about now is fucking horrifying.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I was following Noah's feed closely on the night after we finished, even after we finished recording, actually, when I should have been in bed because it was 2 a.m. But I have to say, it was just pretty harrowing watching it again. Yeah, watching it going through Altadena, it was just, yeah. And then, of course, all the misinformation happened because the number of AI generated pictures of like Lamborghinis with fire around them and shit that then was being spewed out. It's just we really are in the fucking end times.
A lot of conspiracies around it too. There's a lot of people saying, "Oh my God, the space laser, it's the space laser again."
No,
or
it's, you got to be more careful with that thing.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be drunk when I operate it, but that's neither here nor there.
And what else? The insufficient water supply to the high pressure system is like somehow was deliberate or something. No, I just think that this is a larger fire than was anticipated for the water system.
Well, it was deliberate in the sense that California decided all the water should go to that like one couple that grow pistachios, but otherwise
the Resnicks, yeah.
No, I don't think like Antifa were going around like starting fires like people were afraid of. I mean, there's the other thing about this is that it might, not to do no gods no mayors, end the career of the mayor of Los Angeles, Karen Bass, because she was on vacation for much of this, and then has fucked up every single press conference she's done in a new and like alarming way. And the most recent one I saw was where she was asked, like, "Okay, do you feel bad that you're on vacation? Do you think you should have come back earlier?" She's like, "No, I it was fine." Say that.
Can't say that.
No, I can't say that. Yeah.
Can't do that.
Even though
just lie. Just say, of course. It's not hard.
Probably wouldn't have helped, but you probably have to at least say, I should be there.
It's a real like question anticipating the answer. Yes, right.
Well, I mean, good on her for doing self-care and not making her job her life.
Self-care.
I was doing work-life balance.
How dare you? Yes.
We'll also point out that the fires are still going.
Oh yeah,
they're a lot more contained than they were when we recorded last week, but they are still
favorable
going.
winds and stuff, right? So it has slowed down, but
the real winners here are the guys who like to draw like exquisite art of planes, because like if you want to see some like really really beautiful like art of the like Boeing super tanker or whatever, there's a bunch of guys on Twitter who have got you covered, and they're all like, you think we feel bad or feel conflicted, they're all like, I mean, obviously it's not like a good thing, it's a really bad thing, and I feel for everyone involved, but I love this fucking plane so bad. And you know what, I respect that a great deal, having a kind of like sort of deep attraction to the spirit of John Muir and being like,
planes want to the people that
they want to fuck the plane. They want to fuck the plane. And honestly, if it's like a noble calling as far as I'm concerned. If they're putting out art like this, it's like saying that like Michelangelo wanted to fuck the statues. It's like okay, fine, worth it, I guess. Like
the ton of flying things. One thing I did notice was the drones. All right. The people who are flying over and taking drone footage and crashing into firefighting planes.
Yeah, they put a hole in the wings of one of them, and like grounded all the like fixed wing firefighting.
There were flight restriction, like very well advertised flight restrictions out for these guys out, kind of getting glory hunting drone shots. That they were to be grounded, and nope, they were just up and flying. It's just not good. Stupid drones. Yeah. And like that grounded that firefighting aircraft, so that was less firefighting capacity against these fires. So great work, the guys flying the drones around.
Other thing that I wanted to mention about this is, of course, that California continues to use prison labor as firefighting. Like in the, I think, hundreds of people here. And this is coercive. It's like functionally slave labor. And I don't want to be, I don't want to talk about, the UAE or, Saudi and talk about kafala and not mention this here. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely it's a hell of a system they have out there in California. I'm glad. I'm just sometimes I'm like, Thank God I don't live there.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like knowing that this is going to get worse every year and seeing how precarious it is this year and how bad it is this year, you just think, this is just going to get more and more tenuous until something's going to like break seriously, And I mean, this is what it looks like when it works just about, and it's still like
I was about to say this is not anywhere as bad as it could have been.
Yeah,
but it was still exponentially worse than anything else that's happened there.
Yeah, like
little comfort,
looking at like hundreds of people getting their houses burned down, thousands of people getting evacuated, and whatever death toll it turns out to be, and going, well, this is the success story, right? It just feels like the success story gets a little bit less successful all the time.
Yes. However, there was a success story. In other news.
Yeah.
Oh, nailed that.
So,
So there's a ceasefire now.
John Trump has negotiated a ceasefire in Gaza.
You hate to say it, but deals really are the man's art form.
I'm kind of I was like, it did seem like for a while there were some people who were contrarians who were just like, well, maybe Trump will, negotiate a ceasefire. And I was like, nah, they'll never do that. Anyway, he did that.
Yeah, like I remember seeing there was one of the dumbest motherfuckers to ever do it, Matt Iglesias, posted like maybe I'm an out of touch elitist, but people really seem to think that there's a like ceasefire button in Biden's office that he's refusing to press.
Turns out, I saw that, yeah.
And then Donald Trump confusing it with the Diet Coke summoning button, pressed that button by accident, and
lo and
behold, you get a ceasefire, which has not happened yet. To be clear, Israel is still like bombing Gaza. It's still killing people.
They never respect ceasefires, right? You look, they're still bombing. They're still attacking and bombing and wrecking up Lebanon's sovereignty, right?
Absolutely. Also, there's this kind of like institutional knowledge in the IDF that like what you do in the face of a ceasefire is you try and like take and hold as much territory and inflict as much damage as you can before it starts to try and like get the most favorable position.
They're not very good at like not using their guns over there in the IDF. They're very, very very much like, I don't know, maybe they all got carpal tunnel syndrome, so they're firing their guns constantly when they're holding them. I mean,
they're also not very good at using their guns, because I would not describe anything that the IDF have done as being precise or
competent or good.
Yeah, they are moral, however. In fact, the most moral army in the world.
The most moral.
So we keep hearing. But so if this works, which it may still not, but I think everyone hopes that it does.
Israel still has to ratify it.
Well, what the fuck happens next?
Well, so what happens next is there's an exchange of like all of the hostages for about like 1,000 Palestinian. I'll say hostages as well, right? Which gives you a sense of scale in terms of like number of Palestinians held prisoner in Israel versus number of Israelis held prisoner in Gaza. And then theoretically there's like an Israeli withdrawal. There's no like mention of sort of like interdicting Hamas from governing Gaza, so they're gonna do that again, and supposedly everybody gets to go back to what is left of their homes, including in the north of Gaza.
I was about to say the reconstruction here is going to take a very, very long time, especially if any of those Israeli material restrictions are still in place.
Yes.
Who's going to go in and do it? Because there's, I mean, the residents of Gaza are unbelievably sort of creative and resourceful, but there's only so much you can do with sort of like toxic, the genuinely toxic rubble that has been left behind by Israel.
Yeah, I mean the Biden plan
of like asbestos and crap.
Yeah, the Biden plan. I don't want to sort of dignify it with the name, right? Was sort of vaguely gestured at the idea of like the Gulf states and Saudi were going to kind of like come in and invest, which we'll see.
Turn the Gaza Strip into Neom.
I was going to say it was a pretty beautiful city before. It'll be fucking horrible if the Emiratis get their hands on it.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know, right? And I don't know that many people do really. But
Sure.
you know, as a starting point, this is, you know, it's better than more bombing.
It's better to not be bombed. You know, maybe you can find the time to reinstall some Windows or something.
Yeah, I mean, over the course of the war, right? I mean, we didn't see it turn into like a regional war. We did see like Iran strike Israel, which was fucking wild, but it didn't like broaden beyond that.
Over, right?
Yeah,
we can be thankful for that, I guess. Yeah.
On the other hand, you know, sort of like Gaza has been sort of functionally destroyed.
Left to die,
Lebanon has been like brutalized. Syria has had like half this mountain stolen off of it. And Hamas and Hezbollah have been decimated, and God knows what that looks like as they try and rebuild. Right?
I was about to say, I think that when we get the final death toll figures, if they're able to be figured out, because I believe they destroyed all the records in Gaza.
Yeah.
It's going to be an ugly number. It's going to be a very ugly number. I think it's going to be a lot worse than anything the health ministry has put out.
Yeah. And I mean, ultimately, like, what you hope for is still war crimes prosecutions, right? You
Right.
hope for like Israeli leadership to end up in the fucking Hague, but it really seems like this is just the best you can get for the moment, right?
Sure.
And I mean, for the people of Gaza to have survived this long, those that have, and to have like endured these crimes is sort of like this incredible testament, right? But also just kind of horrifying in terms of what the implications are for the future, not just in Gaza but anywhere, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think having this kind of outcome of like, well, nothing kind of really changes except you do all the crimes, you get away with it, and then I think the feeling in Israel is as likely as not to be, well, you know, in a few years we just do it all over again, right? If that's the feeling, then it's not going to kind of deter anyone from doing the same thing anywhere else.
Except when we were growing up, Nova, you and I, same age pretty much. The big news injustice that I sort of grew up with, that I remember, the first one that I remember actually was growing up very little, but it was the siege of Sarajevo, right? And this is this incredible urban siege of, you know, awful experience for the residents of Sarajevo as the Serbs, kind of basically sniper rifles, firing missiles, just obliterating their city and attacking their city, making life miserable. And that, you know, that was that looks like a walk in the park compared to what we've seen happen to Gaza City and to the whole Gaza Strip. It's just like absolutely inconceivable cruelty and destruction. And I just. It will say a lot, and I know that they will rebuild, because you can see, we've seen the resilience of the Palestinian people over the last sort of year and a half. But but I mean, they will rebuild, and it'll be incredible that they will. And you know, but it's what's the long term future for them? You know, what is this just going? Are we just going to cycle into this again? Probably, and that's depressing as fuck.
Yeah,
we got to give the Palestinians their own Iron Dome.
Yeah, genuinely.
Yeah.
Give them the nuke.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, sure. Let's go with that.
Just like kicking yourself into the sort of top left, bottom left, libertarian leftist quadrant of the political compass, and be like, everybody's sovereignty enforced by nuclear weapons. I mean, at this point, I've heard worse ideas, you know?
Yes. Okay. We found a long-lasting solution to the crisis. Yeah, exactly.
Everyone
witness me flip my stance on nuclear disarmament in real time. Yeah, let's go.
Nuclear armament. We're just giving them out. Doing like evangelism, like a stack of suitcase nukes on like a stall, and you know, downtown.
Take the liberal centrist stance, is that you can deliver the nuke via the US little jetty they built.
Oh yeah.
That's it.
That's not even still there.
No,
like,
it's
that
gone.
lasted like a week.
It's sunk into the bed.
Sir,
It's gone.
have you heard the good news of our Lord and Savior, the Davy Crockett?
Yep.
All right. Well, that was depressing, but let's go to a piece of fun news, which we also got wrong in the last episode.
Yeah, so the arena's done now. Or whatever.
The after 2 years of this thing taking up all the space, politically discourse wise, in the city of Philadelphia, the downtown or the center city Sixers arena has been at the very last second, after all the legislation was passed, people got arrested, all this crap. They're like, nah, we're going to stay in South Philly.
Resistance to all oppressors. Give the residents of Chinatown a nuke.
Yeah.
Yep.
My understanding is this has something to do with NBC getting the broadcast rights to the NBA. Some kind of shady backroom deal occurred. And consider, I know at least some people who think Mayor Parker stole the election specifically to get this project through.
What? No, we ran two candidates who believe the exact same thing against each other, and Cheryl Parker won.
Yeah.
Liam, have you and Tom been covering this at all on 10K losses? Like,
yeah, so we're covering it on Friday actually, but we have been covering
okay.
it.
So yeah, I look forward to tuning because I don't know what the fuck's going on, and I'm fascinated to know your take.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of stuff here that really it is beyond me. In the last episode, I was definitely like, because it's hard to find a reason to like be firmly against this, at least for me, because
otherwise the campaigners would have found to be against it. Sorry, forgive me. Yeah, okay, fair point. I was thinking like a legal thing to topple it, and they hadn't found it, but to actually be against it,
because it was kind of like okay. I mean, the ball is not that great.
Right.
It would wreck the train station for a while, well, possibly permanently, because you would have less light coming in there. But it didn't seem like conceptually a terrible idea, but when you realize, oh wait, the whole thing was a bait and switch, I mean, it would be hard to be against it, particularly for that reason through the whole process. But I feel like everyone who was against it is vindicated. And it is really funny to see our city council try and spin this as some sort of win when they all just expended all the political capital they have to get this thing forced through. It's kind of
incredible.
I don't know. It's really funny that it's not happening.
All this over what looks like a kind of like a big picnic basket or a mall in like a sort of Central Asian country.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
All architecture is shit nowadays. I mean, what the fuck is this? It's just
this is Ulaanbaatar's premier shopping destination.
Exactly. Yeah. The Qatari / Saudi / Emirati-ification of everything is just
Yeah, I mean, what we've sort of wound up with now is, I believe, the Sixers now own just 2 huge chunks of Center City real estate.
They should lean into this. They should have it be like a kind of like feudal liberty, like the Savoy, where it's like these 2 blocks, like this. That's basically how the city of London started. Just do that. Just be like, this whole area is under the jurisdiction of the 76ers.
The fiefdom.
Yeah, you get arrested by like the basketball cops.
The Sixdom.
Yeah.
Oh, that'll be like a Keystone Opportunity Zone, but more.
Yeah.
Maybe you pay all your taxes directly to the Sixers.
The Philadelphia 76ers economics, like exclusive economic area or whatever.
Arm the Sixers with a nuke.
Chinatown gets a nuke. The Sixers get a nuke. Problem solved.
Yeah, exactly. We give every registered community organization a nuke. Doing this to maintain we're doing this to maintain the peace.
Giving the Green Party of England and Wales a nuke.
I kind of support that. Yeah, sure. I think Carla Denyer should have a nuke.
Yeah, exactly. Give Carla. That would be. I would like that. Yeah. I've spun them on HS2. Now we can get them to flip them on something that I also don't agree with, which is nuclear proliferation. Let's crack on.
Yeah. Greenham
All right.
Common War Camp. I guess that is just the base at Greenham Common.
Yeah.
I was trying to conceptualize the opposite of the peace camp, and it's just like that's just the thing
Just-
they're
just
outside the
thing they're
wire
actually-
of.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. You just let them in. Yeah. Give them all a lanyard.
Mm.
So, yeah, this is very funny. I mean, there's nothing you can say about it other than this is really, really funny.
Yeah, this is not one I feel morally conflicted about. I feel pretty good about
Yeah,
this
that's
one.
Just
Yeah.
very funny. Yeah.
Well, that was the goddamn news.
Get mad at us in the comments.
Yes.
I'm sure they will.
Okay,
All right.
so
Yes.
let's start the Socratic method here.
I hate when we do this.
Yeah. What is Washington National Airport?
Hell.
It's very bumpy. It's very greebled. This is a greebled
very
air.
It is. They've really. That, or it looks like it's one of those models that you make out of just like cereal boxes
Yeah.
with a Stanley knife. You very
The
carefully cut out
diorama
each
you had to
segment.
make at 4 a.m. because your kid was like, I have a project due tomorrow and I haven't started it yet.
Yeah.
First
it.
day using my lathe, and I've made the air traffic control tower at Washington National
Yeah.
Airport.
I actually quite like the interior of this airport. It's sort of it was all designed by Caesar Pelli. It's got a bunch of like yellow decorative ironwork in it.
Ooh.
Yeah,
It's good. Yeah, I
actually
like
What
pretty
age you
cool.
talking? Is it like a big Pomo doodad? Like,
Yeah, it's like
or is it high tech? It looks a bit high
almost
tech.
Art Nouveau. Hold
Oh,
on, let me get a
interesting.
picture here.
And I mean, good, just sort of like nice views of the planes. If you're one of those guys who likes to,
Oh,
who
absolutely.
wants to fuck the planes.
As we all do.
Mhm.
Yeah. I don't necessarily want to fuck the plane. I just want to pick
Yes,
out
you
the
do.
737 Maxes and laugh at them.
Hold on. Here we go.
Plane shaming.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hide your taint, Boeing.
Okay, here's what the inside looks like.
Oh, that's lovely.
That's
Oh,
pretty.
that's very
It's
nice.
kind of
Ooh.
like
Yeah.
you
It's
know,
very cathedral-esque.
Yeah, I was going to say secular cathedral with that vaulting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Fair play. I actually quite like that.
Yeah, it
it
is.
is Pomo. It's very Pomo. I like that.
It's very
that's nuts.
postmodern. Yeah. Okay,
A little
but
bit of Pomo. Sorry, none of us have answered the question you've set us, Ross. It's
No,
true.
fuck them.
Washington National Airport is the airport in Washington D.C.
It's a land of
yes,
contrast.
but it's not actually in Washington
It's not.
D.C. It's in Arlington.
Oh,
Or is it in Alexandria? I don't remember.
It's
one of
in
those two places.
one of the kind of hellscapes that surround
Yeah.
the
in
District of
Arlington, dude.
Columbia.
it is in Northern Virginia. It's an
Okay.
airport that Congress
Technically
people
Crystal
like.
City, I think, but who gives
Yeah.
a shit about that?
Well, I think Crystal City is unincorporated.
I believe you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is an airport that congressmen like to get mad at.
Ah.
Reasonable, kind of like Westminster Tube Station.
Yeah. Because there's it's Washington D.C.'s local airport.
That's why you call it a national airport. Yep. Okay,
yeah.
that makes sense. Yep.
There's one
that's
further away, Washington Dulles International Airport. That's where the long haul flights are supposed to come in.
Yeah, that's the one I know about. Yeah.
This one is supposed to be more for regional flights. I think there's like a hard limit on flights coming into this airport of like 1,250 miles. But every once in a while, a congressman gets mad that there isn't a direct flight from where they live to the airport. And they submit some legislation that then lets one flight violate that rule.
Incredible.
That's
And now
kind of
there's
like the
like a whole
MP
bunch of
wanting a
those.
direct train to their constituency to London situation in the
exactly.
UK.
It's
That's pretty
literally
similar.
the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this airport has two names. It's National Airport if you're a Democrat or left leaning, and it's Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport if you're a Republican or you lean right.
Ronald Reagan and Alan Dulles. What a pair of. I guess
Yeah.
it's John
Like-
Foster Dulles, but like still, like what a pair of guys to name your airports after.
Yeah.
Exactly.
On the
well,
bright
this
side,
was
Thurgood Marshall got BWI.
Kind of
Oh, that's
perverse
true.
to name an airport after a guy with one of the biggest influences in causing 9/11. But you know,
Yeah.
and who fired all the air traffic,
controllers. Yeah.
Part of the air traffic controllers, and also physically one of the least aerodynamic presidents I think the US has ever had as well.
I believe that's right.
doing graphing presidents by aerodynamic quality is a great.
Check what's their bluff body ratio? Yeah.
Johnson loses this in a landslide.
No, it's Taft. Taft is the least aerodynamic president. He's the most buoyant president, though. I think.
Great shit, terrible aircraft. Yeah. Possibly a good air balloon.
This was
graphing presidents by land speed, air speed, and like buoyancy.
Imagine a president that's perfectly spherical and of uniform density.
Yeah, William Howard Taft.
Yeah. This airport was, I guess, not an early get. I guess it was sort of in the medium term of, the Ronald Reagan Memorial Committee on naming things after Ronald Reagan.
They could have named the committee better, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, lots of things got named after Ronald Reagan in like the 90s.
Asshole.
I believe the air traffic controller still refused to call it Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport.
It's
They just say National Airport.
There's very little that's named the Margaret Thatcher X, Y, or Z in the UK. So, he did better than his contemporary on this side of the puddle.
But this is the airport. This is the airport that's like close into Washington, D.C. We'll see how close in shortly. Now, another important thing is, what is the 14th Street Bridge complex?
Oh, God.
This is some real like me playing Cities Skylines gore. Of figuring out 4 different times that I need to cross this body of water.
Yes.
Yeah, testing out the different vanilla bridge types that you get all in a row.
And it's like, I should throw a rail bridge on there too, probably, I guess.
I gotta be thorough,
exactly.
Right, yeah.
And we just round the corner from, of course, where the Triskelion is here. That's just around the corner.
That is actually sort of how that works. How that worked on this one. There has been some kind of bridge on this location since 1809, generally with some kind of draw span on it. So from bottom to top here, this is the 1904 Long Bridge. Why is it called the Long Bridge?
It's really long.
Yeah, it's pretty long. It's like a mile.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Dang, I was hoping for a guy named Long.
Yeah,
Huey Long rides again.
Isaiah Long the Third or something. Yeah.
This is built in 1904 to replace the previous structure. Here is the 1983 Charles R. Fenwick Bridge that carries the metro over the river.
Okay, so we're two for two on rail bridges. Happy with that?
Yeah.
Nice.
There will soon actually be a third one, I think, downstream of the Long Bridge here for extra capacity for the commuter trains.
Nice.
Yeah.
Big rail. Love it.
I mean, it's taken them 10 years to plan a bridge over a 3-foot deep river, but that's a different conversation. This is the 1950, formerly called the Rochambeau Bridge, which
still
carries,
in Louisiana, I guess.
Yeah. This is now the Arlen D. Williams Jr. Memorial Bridge.
Whoa,
that'll come up later.
snappy.
That carries I-395 northbound. This is the 1971 current Rochambeau Bridge that carries the I-395 express lanes, which, from experience, not very express. And then at the very top here, this is the 1962 George Mason Memorial Bridge, which carries I-95 or I-395 southbound. And one of the fun things about this spot is that when you're going over it, either on a train or on the metro or in a car, you can see every form of transportation. You can see boats, but you can also see planes flying very low overhead.
You get a little achievement if you're here.
Yeah, exactly. You get the achievement if you see a boat and a plane and a train and a car and a truck and a bus all at the same time.
So that's
actually what determines if you get to heaven. It's unfair, and it's not written down anywhere in the Bible or anything, but that is what it is. If you died before the invention of any of those things, you were
sucks
kind of
to suck.
Yeah.
Now, those are the three bridges, the three kind of the bridges in the first three. Do they all have a drawbridge? All of them have a lifty bit.
So the Long Bridge has a drawspan. The Rochambeau Bridge has a drawspan, or the former Rochambeau Bridge has a drawspan. The Yellow Line Bridge does not have a drawspan because they actually decided when they built the two northern spans, yeah, we really don't need boats coming up this far
fuck
anymore.
you boats.
Fuck you
exactly.
boats.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah, I'm with that.
I think the last time either of these two bridges opened was 1967.
Okay, yeah, fine. Finding myself very opinionated this episode. I'm changing my opinions on nukes, and I'm very anti-boat. Just some emerging opinions.
Pro-nuke, anti-boat. Nuke every boat.
That's it.
The only thing about it is I do think the next bridge up the river, the Memorial Bridge, that had the wildest draw span I think it has ever been designed, which was also welded shut as a result. Let me see if I can find a picture of this. Hold on.
You're doing great.
No, there's no way I'm finding this quickly. God damn it.
Fuck you.
Google now utterly useless. Thank
Completely.
you, Google.
Thank you, AI. We love your
Hold on.
slop. No.
Okay, here we go.
Oh my god!
in
What
the
the hell?
goddamn shit is this?
What?
Yeah,
Why would you do it that way?
It's a
That
big
looks like a thing to
Close
keep.
parentheses.
That's a thing to keep Andreessen's head in place. Like, what?
Yeah.
Like,
No, they kept
Mark.
because the rest of the bridge are these sort of low, large arches, right? So the actual draw span was the same kind of arch done in cast iron, and then they had to.
Yeah, it's a nice idea, but it looks like it's been designed to capture a kaiju. Like what?
Yeah.
What?
Didn't they use this in Skyrim?
This is what it looks like closed.
Yeah, it's very nice. They've done a nice job. It's a lovely flat, shallow arch. It's nice. It's lovely.
But I have no idea when the last time that opened. It was probably earlier than 1967.
Many years ago.
That's all welded shut.
Cowards.
Yeah.
So we've got boats. So we've got trains. We've got buses. We've got cars. We've got trucks. We've got boats, and we've got planes, all in the same place.
Yeah.
Why?
The express lanes here were actually supposed to originally be bus only lanes, and then they gave up and made them high occupancy vehicle lanes.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah. But this is all the bridges are right here because I guess it's a convenient spot to put them.
That's where you all go. That's where we go to hang out. Yep.
And they all converge sort of into 14th Street or into I-395, which goes east-west through DC. So, and of course they are located. If we look, okay, here's the White House, right? Here's the Capitol. Here's Union
Jesus Christ,
Station.
how did the Pentagon not get like 9/11 earlier? It's in line with one of the runways.
Yes, the Pentagon is in line with one of the runways. I don't think they usually take off going that direction.
They got to do a whole different approach and shit. It's real weird.
But yeah, here's the 14th Street bridges. Here is the airport. Here's the Pentagon. What else is interesting here?
Just like I'm visualizing flight restrictions in my head, and I'm seeing like big red and orange shapes tessellating with each other and overlapping and shit. So if you deviate from your flight plan by like 1/10 of an inch and you are shot down by a Patriot missile,
right? SAM battery, right to the dome. Yeah.
Not quite, but yes, the approach and departure routes from this airport are very strict.
They're very specific.
Yeah.
This is a kind of pilot nightmare to me in my imagination.
This is running the gauntlet, because if you one fell swoop and you are Chunky Marinara, and everybody you've ever known is Chunky Marinara.
There were some really bizarre restrictions on flights in and out of the airport just after 9/11. Like, you know,
like the passenger amount, right? Wasn't that restricted?
They restricted the number of passengers on the flight. One of the restrictions was, I believe, if a passenger stood up within 30 minutes of arrival or departure, the plane had to be redirected to a nearby military base.
Chaff. Oh no, okay, all right, no, yeah.
under fighter jet escort.
I have to go to the bathroom and I get everybody cavity searched by the feds.
Oh man, yeah, that's it.
The actual approach into the airport is the river approach. So you come as you get towards Roslyn here, which annoyingly has a bunch of tall buildings. The river visual just brings you down the river and onto the runway. And because right next to you, very restricted airspace, and then even more restricted airspace. So yeah, figure it out.
Don't fuck that up, kids.
Don't fuck it up. Yeah.
I guess if you're going to be a commercial airline pilot, they kind of select against you having anxiety. But this seems like a great way to start,
Yeah, I would. We would be the opposite of Sully of the Hudson. We would be in the Potomac, but
yeah,
none of us are getting out alive out of this. But
yeah, shredded aluminium type situation.
I'd have anxiety doing this in Flight Simulator. I'd worry the FBI would show up to my door if I messed up.
Surely it would be like the FAA cops, right?
Yeah.
Does the FAA have cop? They gotta have. Yeah.
We're preemptively revoking your pilot's license, even though you don't have one.
The FAA SWAT team just come and like break your yoke off your desk.
Open up, FAA!
They surely gotta have it.
Is it on an artificial island, or did they just completely sack off a nice natural island to build it?
Big chunk of this is fill, I want to say.
Interesting.
But I'm not 100% certain about that.
I mean, if it's a real island, it's probably one of the ones where like Aaron Burr was getting into duels and shit,
Yeah, and this airport is in its second location because it actually used to be where the Pentagon is.
Yep.
Oh,
which must have been very confusing if you were
suddenly it all makes sense now. Why aviation had a vendetta against the Pentagon? Because they made it move house. Okay.
Yeah.
All making more sense. Okay, right.
So, our next question: what is Air Florida?
It feels like the aircraft. It feels like the common carrier of my fucking nightmares.
It feels like the plane should have a mullet.
It kind of does here, back left on the tail.
Yeah, actually,
business class in the front, party class in the back.
It's got a little mustache. Yeah.
So
pilot tries to get your attention by saying "where you is" every 15 minutes.
So Air Florida was originally an intrastate railroad airline, not railroad, airline.
It would have been a lot cooler if Air Florida were a railroad, dude.
Yeah,
agreed.
That would be very Florida.
So
bright line with wings.
Well, they did have the Seaboard Airline.
I know.
So
it's true.
This was founded in 1971 with one airplane, which was an ex-Pan Am Boeing 707. You got to start somewhere.
Weak sauce.
A one-plane airline is a really compelling bit to me. Like, you're just hanging out, basically.
Yeah. As the airline only flew within the state of Florida, it was not subject to regulation of routes and ticket prices and so on and so forth that interstate airlines would.
Like a loophole, like the FAA can't touch you because you're regulated by the way worse Florida Aviation Authority.
Oh, God.
Back then, it was the Civil Aviation Board, but basically, yes. In 1978, so despite not being subject to regulations, the airline still lost money hand over fist. It was not profitable.
They still fumbled the bag despite the fact they were... Oh, brilliant. Nice work. Okay, good.
In 1978, Congress passed the Airline Deregulation Act.
Serious boo.
Now Air Florida could easily expand outside the state of Florida, and they did, actually very successfully. They weren't necessarily, let's say, pioneering the low-cost airline model, but they shared some characteristics, right? Most notably, hiring mainly new and young pilots who would settle for lower wages.
Great, of course.
Tremendous.
You get paid and exposure.
Yeah, exactly. They did not do other things that low-cost airlines do, like having, all new airplanes or like a uniform fleet of airplanes.
Oh, boy. Are we just talking
This must have been some of the jankiest flying you could have done in the time, you know? To be like, hey, do you want to get on our completely non-uniform fleet of planes and just like, we will pay you dog shit. You will have to, you have to live in Jacksonville and you're doing this basically 4 flight hours logged.
But you don't have to pay extra for a carry-on, though. So it's...
Who's to say if it's bad or not, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Also really funny to be doing this in the 70s, so all of these young pilots are like, oh man, I can't wait to make it to the big leagues. And the big leagues is like you get hired by, I don't know, Lufthansa or something, Pan Am.
Eastern.
And get killed instantly when your plane is blown up by the like 15 bombs smuggled onto every flight. Or you get hijacked and have to fly it to Libya or whatever the fuck.
Oh, we'll get that in a second.
Oh, God.
Oh, God.
Air Florida gets really big really quick. They even managed to expand operations to Europe and South America.
What?
Europeans shouldn't know about Florida. I'm proof of that. It damages you.
They had a direct flight from Stockholm to Florida.
The weirdest
Why
accent
are the Swedes going to... What? Florida is like the anti-Sweden. It's the least Swedish place you can possibly imagine.
That's why, you know.
Yeah.
Liam Cyrus, a Swedish expert. What the hell are your people doing going to Florida? I have questions.
Avenging the what is it, the Vaga? What was the big ship that we got?
The Vasa, yeah.
The Vasa, yeah.
Yeah. We're gonna make them pay for their crimes. I like the idea in my alt history universe that the Vasa was sunk by Floridians.
Yeah.
And Michael Mouse is no friend of mine.
So once deregulation happened, this was the darling of investors. This was the little airline that could, right?
Oh, boy.
It was also a favorite airline of hijackers.
Oh.
Just you hijack a plane, the pilot's not even really getting paid to be there.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, man, whatever, help yourself. You know, you want something out of the galley? Like,
On August
just
10th,
a seat for us to get up.
August 10th, 1980, Air Florida Flight 4 with 35 people on board, operated by a Boeing 737 from Miami International Airport to Key West, was taken over by a hijacker who demanded to be flown to Cuba. He later surrendered in Havana.
it worked.
Okay.
It worked.
Yeah, nice.
August 13th, 1980, Air Florida Flight 707, another Boeing 737.
3 days later.
Flying the opposite direction with 74 people on board, was hijacked by 7 people. They demanded to be taken to Cuba, but later surrendered.
Yeah.
At this point, just do flights to Cuba.
Just go to Havana. It'll be easier.
February 2nd, 1982, Air Florida Flight 710, a Boeing 737-200 with 77 people on board from Miami International to Key West, was hijacked.
Why is that even a flight?
The hijacker wanted to be taken to Cuba, but later surrendered.
It's just functionally
one guy.
That's like it's like a Miami to Havana flight with a loophole. You know, it's like a fig leaf over it.
July 7th, 1983, Air Florida Flight 8 with 47 people on board was flying from Fort Lauderdale International Airport to Tampa. One of the passengers handed a note to one of the flight attendants saying that he had a bomb and telling them to fly the plane to Cuba.
Who's on sale, man?
You don't just go to the flight attendants like you don't need the bomb. This is what we normally do. Like, just get comfy.
There's just like slightly too loud of a noise from the passenger cabin, and on reflex they divert to Havana.
There's like one of the buttons in the armrest is just to take the plane to Cuba button.
I'm trying to hand a note to the flight attendant asking for another Coke, and she doesn't read it, and she just diverts the plane to Cuba.
I read it as Cuba Libre, and I got scared.
The airplane was diverted to Havana Jose Marti International Airport, and hijacker was taken into custody by Cuban authorities.
Do you think there's like Cuban shitlibs who refuse to call it Jose Marti Airport on the same basis as like, you know, Reagan National
thing.
Airport?
I'm sure.
Probably, yeah. What happens to these hijackers after they make it to Cuba?
I mean, you probably get like debriefed by the Cuban Secret Service to
And
make
then you
sure
just
you're not doing some kind of double agent thing to assassinate Castro.
Yeah, yeah.
Castro ignores that, comes up and kisses you on the lips for like way too long. You instantly fall in love with him, irrespective of gender, and like settle down to like a beautiful life together. It sounds pretty good, to be honest.
That
Sounds
actually
nice,
does sound
yeah.
pretty good, yeah.
Ready to go, or
Yeah, he has a little like room by the airport for this.
this used to be a Motel 8 before.
Hi, it's Justin. So this is a commercial for the podcast that you're already listening to. People are annoyed by these, so let me get to the point. We have this thing called Patreon, right? The deal is you give us $2 a month, and we give you an extra episode once a month. Sometimes it's a little inconsistent, but you know, it's $2. You get what you pay for. It also gets you our full back catalog of bonus episodes, so you can learn about exciting topics like guns, pickup trucks, or pickup trucks with guns on them. The money we raise through Patreon goes to making sure that the only ad you hear on this podcast is this one. Anyway, that's something to consider if you have $2 to spare each month. Join at patreon.com/WTYP pod. Do it if you want. Or don't. It's your decision, and we respect that. Back to the show. All right. Not all the flights went to Cuba, though.
Just most of them.
Yeah. Let's talk about the airplane.
Oh, I don't like that livery. That's kind of upsetting to me, that blue and green color.
Yeah, I don't like the livery, but I have to say, I do love a 737-200
Oh, they're
with its little ditty
little baby
engines.
plane.
Yeah, it's not. They're very sleek. They look so. You compare this to the flipping Maxes with their enormous, bulbous, horrible engines, totally out of balance. These are lovely. Look at those little
Those are
engines.
Very well proportioned, yeah. This is a Boeing 737-200 built for United Airlines in 1969. Registered N62AF. Sold to Air Florida in 1980.
Shit's
got your-
N62AF.
Yeah. This has your old-fashioned, low-bypass Pratt & Whitney engines and everything.
Yeah, sick.
Nice.
The crew is Captain Larry Wheaton. He's 34 years old. He has 2,322 hours of commercial jet flight time, but he's only done 8 takeoffs and landings in snowy conditions.
Oh fuck! Okay, foreshadowing. Got you.
First Officer Roger Petit is 31. He has 3,353 flight hours. He was a former
He's enormous, actually, but ironically.
He's a former F-15 pilot. Has only 2 takeoffs and landings in snowy conditions.
Yeah, okay.
That
I figure once you've made it 2 times, you're like, I can do a third. It's pretty
I'm
easy.
sure
for
there's
me.
no
As, you
pertinence to
know,
the fact that you're mentioning that, Roz, right?
They fly for Air Florida, so you know a lot of the airports don't get a lot of snow.
Yeah, how often are
Yeah,
you?
you're mostly
I'm
flying
sure
to
this.
Havana.
I'm sure
It doesn't
right,
snow for shit in Havana.
Right, I'm
Yeah.
sure this won't come up again.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's
yeah,
nothing
certainly,
to be
yeah.
worried about.
So on January 13th, 1982, they are going to take this 737, which just arrived earlier from Miami.
To Havana.
To Havana, right? Of course.
Well, we don't know that, but maybe. They're taking it from Washington National Airport to Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport by way of Tampa.
Shouldn't get to call it Hollywood International Airport. It's misleading. It's deceptive
Yeah.
marketing.
So, you know, this flight is in. Fuck you, it's January. So
Oh,
Going
boy.
to Fort Lauderdale in January. Okay. So like
let's.
that's like people who missed seeing their like elderly relatives for Christmas and they're trying to make it up to them in a hurry, right?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Damn, we got to do Christmas too.
Like,
Oh no, I hate Christmas too. I don't even really like Christmas 1, man.
So we got to talk about de-icing airplanes, right?
ooh, okay.
So, ice and snow can affect the aerodynamic properties of the airplane and make them more difficult to fly or impossible to fly. Ice and snow can also affect various sensors on the aircraft and cause instruments to give false readings. Commercial aircraft in flight use bleed air, which is the warm air that comes out of the engines, to warm the surface of the wings, but on the ground, this doesn't really work too good because there's not much bleed air to go around, right? So the aircraft
Makes
is
sense.
manually de-iced by guys and cherry pickers. That's these trucks over here.
Huh.
And they sprayed the goo on the plane, some kind of antifreeze, right?
Enter the
Ethylene
goo.
glycol,
Enter the goo.
sometimes isopropyl alcohol, sometimes some kind of salt solution, maybe some Austrian wine, right? They spray that all over. They're never going to live that down.
Not from us.
Yeah, they spray that all over the plane until there's no ice left. And then once you've been de-iced, you hightail it to the runway, right?
Yeah, you have these like
airports-
de-icing pads that are like designated areas to do this in, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
in
but what year is
some
this?
airports.
This is well, yeah, okay. So this is still a time when they hadn't brought in the rules about exactly how long you could be like how long you could be stood post de-icing before you could take off. Like that got tightened up quite a lot, I think, in the 90s, if I'm remembering my air crash investigation properly.
They actually got tightened up very shortly after this incident.
boy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder
Okay,
why.
foreshadowing.
What happened?
Spoiler alert. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
It's worth saying. So okay. It's worth saying. Yeah, if you get ice on the wing, it's not just that it makes it like fly a bit rougher. It can have like really weird effect, like unpredictable effects, and those effects can be they can be onset quite suddenly as well.
Yes.
So like
Plane
the
decides
ATR
it doesn't want to fly anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Like there are lots of popular regional aircraft that are very efficient turboprop type things, but there's one particular ATR aircraft that or family of aircraft that had for a long time had a really nasty icing problem and would just like throw itself into the fucking ground if the conditions were perfect for kind of icing and flight.
Perfect. Plane with intrusive thoughts.
Literally, yeah.
The Boeing 737-200, it was known that if it were improperly de-iced, what it would like to do is to pitch up as steeply as possible.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's good, I believe. Yes, definitely good.
And that
Can't
could,
spell
that
good
could
without
Beats the
goo.
alternative, right? Like of all the directions you want a plane to go.
Yeah,
hopefully
exactly.
you go up.
Plane's
There's
supposed to
going to
go
be
up,
some
yeah.
problems,
Line go
though.
up.
Yeah, they're definitely
You don't want
me,
to survive.
me finding out about a stall for the first time. Oh, this sucks. What the fuck?
I thought if you pull back, the plane goes up.
Literally the first officer on that Air France flight that like pancaked into the ocean off of Brazil did that almost verbatim. So yeah. Why would it be bad for the plane to go too much up? It's where it's supposed to go.
Yeah, exactly. It's where planes live, in the sky.
In the sky. They haven't left one up there yet.
Yeah. So airports in snowier climates often have dedicated de-icing pads next to the runway, while those in warmer climes usually require de-icing at the gate.
Isn't DC kind of cold in winter? Like that's the whole point of Die Hard 2, I think.
It used to be.
Yeah.
Fuck, okay.
Yeah.
You would get a really good snowstorm like once every 2 years or so, I would say. I do remember the 1 week that we were completely out of school for a whole week. It was great, and that was also the first week in recorded history that the District of Columbia recorded 0 murders. Everyone didn't want to go outside. There's too much snow.
Who could blame him?
Yeah, nice.
Then again, John McClane racked up a bunch of murders in that snowstorm. So
yeah.
So National Airport is one of the latter kind. It does not have de-icing pads to this day, because this is a very rare occurrence.
So you just get your de-icing at the gate.
gate.
then.
At the gate.
And then hope that you get your clearance to fly off the runway fairly quickly.
Yes.
Hope that you, little foreshadowing, hoping you make it off the runway.
Yes.
Well, indeed. Yeah.
Don't worry about why I said that. Don't worry about why.
Oh, yeah. No, just a random set of words.
Yeah.
Together.
Yeah.
I'm just talking crazy.
A
Delirium has said
random,
it.
non-portentous set of words from my good
Yes.
friend Liam.
All right. So this flight is scheduled departure 12:15 Eastern Standard Time.
This is
But-
2:15.
2:15. Did I say?
You said 12:15.
I'm a moron. Anyway.
No, you're not handsome.
This is a cool pushback truck.
Yeah. Oh,
There
this
is
is not-
really the three genders there of like,
yeah.
I'm a moron. No, you're not. I love you. Cool truck.
Yeah. This is not
It's
the truck
Dutch,
they used.
and therefore you can see it's in blackface, unfortunately, there.
It's gone poorly.
No.
So this blizzard had moved in over Washington, D.C. on this day, right? There's very little visibility. The runway was quickly covered in snow, so the airport was closed for about 90 minutes for the sake of snow removal.
I bet they have a really cool truck for that. Big snowblower type thing.
Big snowplow, yeah.
Yeah.
So the captain tried to time his de-icing about as close to the airport's reopening time as possible in order to get a good spot in line.
Oh no.
So first he tried to get it de-iced at 2:30, right? But then the tower called him up and said, you're not moving for another 30 minutes or so, right? So the real de-icing began at 2:50. This de-icing was done by one guy who had a shift change halfway through.
You never want to see it.
Yeah. So the first guy did the left half of the airplane with a 30 to 40% glycol
Oh,
solution.
God.
Dear.
The second guy had different temperature readings and used a 20 to 30% glycol solution. That's probably not a big deal
How difficult is it for those two guys to talk to each other?
to talk to each other. I don't know. They're locked in the little, little box on top of the truck. They had to,
yeah. Get a radio, I just picture these guys like the last two Jews in Afghanistan, where they're just like
The refuse to
we
speak
just
to each other,
don't
yes.
talk to each other. We're just mad at each other.
So there's about 2 to 3 inches of wet snow on the ground, right? This pushback truck shows up, right? And try as they might, they can't move the damn aircraft.
Oh, my God.
The tug just spins its wheels and the horrible snow and slush and glycol goo all over the ramp.
Oh no. She goo on my snow. No.
Is that a thing? Is that something? Yeah.
No, I
So-
abandoned
know
that.
if that's something.
It's not.
Captain radioed the pushback truck and asked if he wanted them to use the reverse thrust. And the guys in the truck said, no, it's against company policy. Also, there's certain problems with this plane that can occur if you use reverse thrust in a, icy environment. So please don't do that.
Okay, fair enough.
So he does that.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
He deploys the big bucket type thrust reversers on this big Pratt & Whitney low bypass turbofan engine. And the engines roar to life, and for about people say about 30 to 90 seconds, the plane is surrounded by swirling snow, ice, and glycol. When they powered down and everything settled, they had accomplished absolutely nothing.
Okay.
So what we've done is we've like dad trying to move like family station wagon out of mud by like just gunning the
Gunning
engine
it,
in the
yeah.
same gear.
Exactly.
And try that again, but in the aircraft. You love to be the person, the like little nerdy kid standing, looking out the glass at this aircraft, nosed in towards the building if it's having to push back and use reverse thrust, and then all of a sudden you just get an absolute like the screaming dirt smacking the window, like the windows are rattling, snow firing out as this reverse thrust ramps up for 90 seconds. Fucking hell!
Pilot sticking his head out the window, trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, he's like bobbing on the clutch,
The
Yeah.
tires are spinning, they're throwing mud up all over it. Like there's not a single window you can see out of from the inside.
Yeah. Surprised it didn't shatter windows. Okay, yeah.
So about 30 minutes pass. At 3:30, a second pushback truck was called. This one had snow chains on it.
Boom.
Yeah, this worked. Air Florida Flight 90 was now pushed back and ready to taxi to the runway. There's 74 passengers and 5 crew on board.
40 minutes since de-icing, I think.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So Captain Larry Wheaton really wants to get this aircraft off the ground, but he's stuck in line for a long time because everyone else wants to do the same thing. He's a little bit worried about how long it's been since the aircraft was de-iced, but he really, really doesn't want to go back to the gate and do it over again.
List of consequences, right? On the one hand, I and everyone else dies. On the other hand, I have to go back and do this shit. I mean, that's relatable. That's absolutely relatable.
Nope, I'm not doing that.
Yeah. So here we go. This is straight from the report. At 15:40:15, the cockpit voice recorder recorded a comment by the captain. Something, go over to the hangar and get it de-iced, to which the first officer replied, yeah, definitely. The captain then made some additional comment that was not clear, but contained the word de-iced, to which the first officer again replied, yeah, that's about it. 15:42 seconds, the first officer continued to say, it's been a while since we've been de-iced. At 15:46 and 21 seconds, the captain said, tell you what, my windshield will be de-iced, but I don't know about my wings. The first officer then commented, well, all we need is the inside of the wings anyway. The wingtips are going to speed up on 80 anyway. They'll chuck all that other stuff off.
Uh-huh.
Now, can you tell what's happening here?
It's like the opposite of crew resource management. It's two guys trying to negotiate their way to not having to go back to the thing.
Yes, the captain has come up with a clever plan that means they don't have to de-ice, which is tailgating.
They're just gonna slipstream. Yeah, they're just gonna sit behind somebody else. Genius.
The plane in front of them was a DC-9, I believe, operated by New York Air, which is another one of those weird regional airlines that existed back then. So he's like, okay, we're going to get up real close to that plane. DC-9 has the engines all the way in the back. And I'm just going to let the exhaust from his engines take the ice off the airplane by just sort of wiggling it around, you know?
You try your best not to make the Florida jokes. But
Right.
Yeah, I mean, there are other things that extremely high thrust forces can do to your aircraft other than take ice off the wings, and
Should be
probably
fine.
won't take ice off the wings at the process.
Yes, this is all kinds of a bad idea. But yeah, he's sort of trying this stunt. It's like, okay, that de-iced the windshield, good. He tries to de-ice one wing and the other wing. He tries it a couple times. It even almost seems to be working.
Imagine being in the DC-9 and you're like, the guy behind us is wiggling around under
Why is
our
he doing
exhaust.
this?
Yeah, what exactly is going on here?
Oh my god, it's like it's like when you got a white BMW up your ass on the fast lane on the M1. You're just like, come on, I'm in a Panda. I'm going at 74 miles an hour. Leave me alone.
3:53 and 21 seconds, the first officer says, boy, this is a losing battle here on trying to de-ice those things. It gives you a false sense of security. That's all it does.
Oh, that inspires confidence. Let's do this, boys.
Ish.
What's actually happening here is the exhaust from the DC-9's engines is melting the snow and ice, yes, but then the water just pools on the wing and it all becomes ice, which is even more tightly adhered to the wing.
Oh, good. Okay, so we're converting the soft slushy ice into rime ice. Excellent.
Yes.
Tremendous.
There's another thing happening simultaneously, and I don't think anyone's established why this was not fixed by the pilots, but something strange is happening to the engines, right? There's a thing called engine pressure ratio, right? And
EPR,
so
yeah.
there's a sensor at the front of the engine that measures the air pressure, and there's a sensor at the back of the engine also measures the air pressure. The ratio of the pressure at the back of the engine over the front of the engine is your engine pressure ratio. So if you have a pressure of like near 1, you're idle. If you have a pressure of like 2, I don't know how high up they go, that means you're producing a whole big bunch of thrust, right?
Hmm.
So the higher the number, the more thrust you're producing. This is how you measure the thrust out of the engine. This is how lots of systems on the plane sort of regulate how much to open or close the throttle. This is an important source of data for the airplane, right? There can be issues with these sensors, though, that might give you a bad reading. Specifically, in this case, ice and snow building up on the pressure gauge and blocking it.
Yeah, and it turns out that like just kind of taxiing behind another plane, blowing like
Higher,
ice and slush into your engines might make that worse too.
Yeah, it does not. That's not a very good situation, because
No,
usually
it's
what's
of
going to
course
happen.
It's inaccurate.
Yeah, and it's the sensor at the front that's going to get all the ice and slush, which, of course, crucially is what gives you your kind of background air pressure.
Yeah,
So if that one gets sticky,
you get an artificially high thrust reading, right?
yes.
Yeah, because that's the denominator.
Yep.
And that means, when you try to adjust the throttle for the amount of thrust you need, you're going to do it less than you otherwise would, which is bad if you're trying to take off and, climb, right? This is why these engines are equipped with a de-icing system to compensate for this. You just run the hot bleed air through the front of the engine, and hey, problem solved.
So they do that, right?
So yeah, that's fine. Problem solved.
Well, yeah,
Next
it
slide.
has no performance impact. There's no reason not to use it, especially in weather like this. So anyway, they don't use it.
Oh, okay. Tremendous.
Do we know why
Hot
not?
team.
This is one of the more confusing parts, because you can hear very clearly on the cockpit voice recorder, when they're doing the checks at the beginning, engine anti-ice off. Okay.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Again, these people are not used to flying in the wintertime. It could just be, a brain fart. It's a pretty serious brain fart. But
They went into autopilot, as it were.
yeah. Yeah, exactly.
All these guys are talking about on the runway is how much the de-icing hasn't worked and how to get the thing de-iced, and then they don't remember that the engine anti-ice.
There's a switch.
There's a switch that solves some of their problems.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% certain, but I think you have to switch that on in flight anyway. Just because
Incredible.
it's cold up there.
Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, air traffic control radios in to say that Air Florida 90 is clear for immediate takeoff. This is after quite a while more of waiting. And also, there's an inbound plane about 2.5 miles behind them. So move
Hurry
now.
up, dickheads.
Apparently, they like to get a lot of use out of this runway, which I think is usually the only runway they use.
Oh wow.
In this case, it's runway 36, which I believe is now numbered 1. I don't know why they changed the numbers.
That's weird.
Like
I always thought the numbers are the same because they refer to the angle of the compass bearing of the thing. That's weird.
Yeah,
Like 36 would be 360 degrees.
Yeah, but 1 would be, I guess, it'd be 10 degree. Yeah, exactly. I think sometimes they have a little bit of leeway on there if it like makes it more convenient for the instruments somehow, which I think there's like a problem with a runway 1836. I don't fully understand that. But I do know they have renumbered the runways.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So they've done their pre takeoff checklist, right? They've set the engines for an engine pressure ratio of 2.04, which is a little higher than usual, but appropriate for this kind of weather, right? The captain hands off the controls to the first officer, who is going to be the pilot flying for this leg. Captain's going to be pilot monitoring, right? And yeah, this is when they don't turn on the engine anti-ice.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I guess technically it's all when they don't turn on the engine anti-ice.
Well, this is true. This is true.
The whole map is called trade.
They start the takeoff just around 3:59 and
Oh, so
45
it's been
seconds.
a while. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And things immediately seem off to the first officer, right?
Oh,
You know-
this is the nightmare. Like a CRM shit where you're like, something feels wrong, but the guy who's kind of my boss is like,
Yeah.
it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine, don't worry.
I've been gunning it the whole time. It's fine.
The plane feels a bit slow. You know, it's sluggish, like a wet sponge.
Oh, Britain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This plane feels British.
Yeah.
They're using way more runway than they usually would. The captain is constantly reassuring the first officer, who's like very, very, very uncertain about this. Nah, it's fine. Don't worry. They start
That's
the
never-
takeoff rotation, and the plane violently pitches up.
Oh, good. We
Huh.
learned that that's good. Plane
Yeah.
go
Yeah,
up,
I remember
Mr.
from
Fine.
earlier. Specifically remember that means that the wings are completely uninterrupted, full aerodynamic
Not
performance.
covered in ice.
Yes.
Yeah.
You get more altitude for a second.
Oh yeah, for a
It's
little
like
bit. Yeah.
It's like the vomit comet. Yeah.
Whee! The captain yells forward. The stick shaker starts going. That's the indicator that you're in aerodynamic stall. The stall warning also starts, which is another indication that you're in an aerodynamic stall. Right?
Yeah, that sort of thing.
You know, this 737 had done exactly what it was known to do in icy conditions, which was to violently pitch up.
I'm looking at the cockpit voice recorder transcript here, and as they're on takeoff roll, the first officer is like, and this is verbatim, who says, "Nah, I don't think that's right. Maybe it
Nah.
is." And then he says, "I don't know." And I want to be clear, like, not to do spoilers here, this man will be dead 40 seconds after saying this.
Yeah.
This could happen to any of us.
God.
Gotta worry about your last words. Speak carefully.
Oh yeah, Ben Guggenheim.
I'm looking
and
for the
his big
de-icer
schlong.
button on my chair in case I die in 20 seconds.
Yeah,
from
me
now.
too. Oh man, why don't they make the whole Liam out of the black box?
Oh, well, yeah. Oh, the only button I have on my chair is. Oh wait, that takes the chair to Cuba.
Fascinating.
Fantastic. I mean, I'm pushing that button all the time.
Warp speed. Yeah, let's do this, man.
I had too many buttons on this fucker. I've got like three-way adjustable armrests and recline. So I wouldn't be
boy.
surprised if there was a Cuban thing in here.
So, despite the situation, they have an unreliable engine pressure ratio reading. The sudden stall, the bad aerodynamics here, they do manage to climb for a bit.
Oh, how long is a bit? We're talking minutes or are we talking
get-
nanoseconds?
They get up to 352 feet.
Oh, so you really do mean a bit, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's some height.
It's taller than I am, I guess.
that's higher than I can jump.
Yeah, it's 100 meters.
Well, I could jump down from there once.
This-
Yeah, that's true.
By the way, at this point, like during the like takeoff roll, the passengers in the back are so alarmed that some of them are putting themselves into the like brace position.
Crash
Yeah,
position.
there were a few people who were like, "Yeah, this looks like it's going to go poorly." People are
I'm like,
assuming
"That's
the brace
never good."
position. Apparently, it was a very, very, very rough takeoff roll.
Funniest
just
thing
from-
you can do in this situation is get up and go, "Take me to Cuba."
Yeah. No, you can't stand up, of course, because then the jets come along and turn you to chaff.
No. They hadn't invented 9/11 yet.
Oh, of course.
Um,
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
they're
yeah.
about to.
Yeah. So they get off the ground. They start to turn,
Oh.
right? And they go down.
Oh, yeah. Figure 2 is not. Oh, there are some other objects involved in this as well. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so this is there's 4 o'clock and 39 seconds. Sound of stick shaker starts and continues until impact. The tower contacts them and says TWR Palm 90 contact departure control. The The captain at this point is saying, forward, easy. We only want 500.
Talking to
So
it like
come
a
on.
horse.
Forward, just barely climb. And he says, stalling, we're falling. And then the first officer's like, Larry, we're going down,
Just
Larry.
about half an hour.
You hate to
And,
die with a Larry, you know? Like that really dates it.
You just use a fake name. Name him something different at that point. You know
Lawrence,
that cockpit voice recorder is going to be on telly, so just like, pick a different name.
Yeah.
Then the captain's like, I know. Then sound of impact.
Square brackets, sound of impact.
I mean, going from I don't know to sound of impact in like 40 seconds is like, this is an efficient
alarming
method of
This
like
is very, very rapid disaster.
ending your own life. You know,
Yeah, this is one of
No,
those
it's
where you
just-
didn't have the chance to die. You only had the chance to die quickly.
Now this is a point where I can add some local flavor that
Ooh.
the air crash investigation channels can't, which is I have fallen into this river in the winter.
Good for you, man.
Oh, off the Rochambeau Bridge, or
It's actually very close to this location. Yeah.
oh shit. Oh, yeah.
I could say the thing about the Potomac is, okay, a lot of it's very shallow. This part is not, because this is where they used to do dredging. You know, so this is a situation, and I will say the Potomac River, even when there's not ice on it, very, very cold. You know, you got that fresh natural water from the Shenandoah Valley coming in.
this is the kind of like detail, you know, that people like this for.
Yeah,
You don't get that
exactly.
shit on the Discovery Channel, do you pricks?
Yeah, air crash investigation never tell you that like you are crashing at like 300 miles an hour into a river that's cold.
Yeah, the river's cold. It's really cold. I have lived experience.
This is really adding insult to injury. You know, your last kind of conscious thoughts as your like elbows are driven through your skull are like, is that water cold? Ugh.
Oh, sucks. Is that a fish I see?
So at 4:01 p.m., Flight 90 crashed directly into the Rochambeau Bridge.
Oh,
It skidded across the bridge deck. It hit 6 cars and a truck. It took out 97 feet of guardrail, and then it fell in a river.
Oh,
Again, the Potomac generally, a lot of it's like 3 feet deep. This part's 12 feet deep, which is exactly the height of a Boeing 737 fuselage.
yeah.
Incredible.
Plop and splash.
Yeah.
Not good.
And nothing else. You
Both-
wash the glycol, goop off of it.
That's a good point, yeah. Both pilots and most of the passengers are killed instantly, as well as several people on the bridge. But a few people seated at the very rear of the plane are still alive, and the wreckage is just barely above water, or rather above ice.
You're in a bad situation there, you know.
Yeah,
Just
they are.
hanging out in the tail section of this thing above like an icy river. Everybody else forward of you is dead, and you're like 40 seconds ago you were, thinking, get me out of National Airport.
Yes,
To
exactly.
Cuba. Yeah.
To Cuba, exactly.
Yeah.
It's
Just
I bet
like
they would have to
thinking,
deal with the fucking de-icing.
thinking about this in the moment and being like, oh man, it seems like my plan to hijack the aircraft and take it to Cuba is really not going in the
Yeah.
direction I hoped.
There's a PLO guy in the back, like, oh shit.
All of these guys from different 70s terrorist groups looking at each other, just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
damn it.
Yeah, they're all just looking across the aisle at each other, just shaking their head like, like, you got the PLO guy, you got the Korean guy. On the
It's
other
like
side.
the
They're
opening
just
from
like,
Naked. It's like the opening of Naked Gun 2. Yeah.
Yeah. So this small group of survivors are clinging onto the tail section. They're about 200 feet from shore.
I mean, how thick is that ice and how deep is the river? Because just get out and walk,
It's not thick enough.
Oh boy.
Oh, jeez.
Okay, so this is where we talk about the rescue efforts. One thing that happens in Washington, D.C. is snow days, right? When it snows hard enough, the federal government shuts down. They tell everyone to go home or tell everyone not to come into work that day. And usually everyone else follows suit. What wonderful cultural thing in DC is there's just, the government says no work today because it's snowing.
Fuck this, I'm going home.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's nice. It's good.
This is one of those days where the government shut down late, right? So there was this early rush hour and everyone was trying to beat everyone else back home.
Oh, boy.
And this is also
dear.
slightly before the Washington Metro opened into Northern Virginia. So, and there's no commuter trains. So everyone's driving, right?
Great.
Incredible.
I'm sure we've not talked in previous episode, indeed the last one we recorded, about traffic blocking the way for emergency vehicles. That's not going to come up in this story, I'm sure.
Oh, well, the traffic was so bad it was damn near impossible for emergency vehicles to get to the crash
fuck.
site.
Oh, no. I can't
nearest
believe
Coast
who could
Guard
have
vessel.
foreseen this.
The nearest Coast Guard vessel was the tugboat Capstan, but it was pretty far downriver. And ironically, it was on another search and rescue mission.
Just like the tugboat is almost reaching you as you fall in the river, and it just turns around and
Yeah,
it's
it
just like,
turns
well, the
around,
needs
it's
of
out.
the many.
Yeah.
In one instance, in order to get around traffic, one ambulance was forced to divert around heavy traffic by climbing the curb and driving on the sidewalk right in front of the White House.
Just the president. Wait a minute. What year is it? Yeah, just coming out and going, "Hey, you kids, get off my yard."
So
Pretty
there's
good
a
rating.
guy. There's a guy, Roger Olian. He was the first man on the scene. He wasn't an emergency responder. He didn't have any training. He was just a guy, right?
Oh, we love a guy.
Of such stuff are real American heroes made of.
Yeah. While several staff from the Pentagon looked on, he jumped into the icy river, made it a few yards out, then came back because, fuck, it's cold in there.
Yeah.
Of such stuff are true American heroes made of.
that'll do it.
The guys from the Pentagon told him, don't do that again, but he insisted he was going to make a second go of it, this time
Best.
with a rope to get him back to the shore, right?
Not a bad idea.
This time he made it about 30 feet and then had to be hauled back, and he spent the rest of the incident warming up in someone's car.
Yeah, that's about what I would
That's
expect.
fair.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
the very, very heroic, but like,
That is dumb. Pretty dumb.
The first emergency workers on the scene were some folks in a park police helicopter called Eagle One. They show up nearly
Jesus.
20 minutes after the wreck.
Hell yeah. Fucking idiots.
They don't have cold water rescue equipment or anything like that.
Hell
All
yeah.
they have are ropes.
Oh, boy.
And they use the ropes thusly.
it's like a fucking team building exercise, except, real and deadly.
Yeah, they get to go on outward bound.
The helicopter would drop a rope down to the survivors and then just drag them 200 feet through the icy river to the shore.
Oh, no.
Fuck that. Jesus.
It's a
Just
very
just like you get to the end and your legs have just frostbitten off. They just come off with shattered from ice. No, thank you. I don't want to be turned into a slush puppy.
I believe a few of the people who were rescued did break a bunch of ribs in this process.
Yeah, that tracks.
Ugh.
This was also a very delicate operation because the helicopter is, of course, operating at low altitude between the two bridges.
Just dumping a sort of helicopter crash on top of your plane crash.
I believe there's some footage here where they were flying so low that the runners of the helicopter actually dipped below water.
Wow.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. Oh, yeah, no, not good.
So
And of course, with the inherent nature of the helicopter is that you're spending the whole time trying to stop it from crashing. That thing, it yearns for death.
yes.
30,000 moving parts looking for a place to crash.
Yeah.
So the first person rescued was Bert Hamilton, who was in the water near the aircraft. They dragged him to shore. They went back, handed the line off to Arlen D. Williams Jr., but he gave it away because he couldn't get free of the wreckage. So instead, flight attendant Kelly Duncan was towed to shore. Next, through the innovative technique of using two ropes, Joe Stiley, Priscilla Tirado, and Nikki Felch were towed away. And Arlen D. Williams again gave up the rope since he was still stuck, right? Tirado and Felch both lost their grip on the rope and fell off.
Crikey.
And just kind of
So there was-
raining more people across this river.
Yeah. There's a
Yeah,
man.
there's people everywhere at this point.
There was a man of better constitution than Roger Olean witnessing this. He was a staffer for the Congressional Budget Office named Lenny Skutnik. Right?
Lenny's not Sputnik, Skutnik. Yeah,
These are some real like
okay.
local news names.
Yeah. He was watching from the shore when he saw Tirado and Felch lose grip on the rope. And without a single thought for self-preservation, he stripped off his coat and boots and jumped into the icy Potomac River and amazingly managed to grab Tirado and drag her back to shore. And then the helicopter managed to get close enough to Nikki Felch for a paramedic to step out onto the runners and get her out of the water.
Right.
Jesus, they really threw this together, like, out of nothing.
Yeah. Arlen D. Williams, meanwhile, was still stuck in the tail section, and he was still trying to unstrap himself, and the tail section fell over.
Oh.
Oof.
Yeah, so he was the only death by drowning in the incident. All of this was caught by local media who managed to beat rescuers to the scene. Arlen's selflessness became national news. Although, again, he was stuck. It's thought that possibly as many as 19 other people may have survived the initial crash, but succumbed to hypothermia before they could be rescued.
Grim.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, this is quite ugly way to go on this flight, I would say.
So the impact so that means a lot of people, a sizable number of people died from. Is that just the shock of impact with the bridge or with the water?
Good question, because honestly, this was, in terms of like actual impact forces, this was relatively tame. Like if they hadn't hit the bridge, this would be much more survivable.
Yeah, because the whole point is the
Yeah,
thing's
it's
not going fast.
I mean,
That's the reason it's in the ditch. Like it's in
It's
the
going
drink
a little
because
faster
it's
vertically
slow.
than it should. But other than that, I mean, I don't know. This could have been, if the bridge hadn't been there. Well, the bridge, they still would have crashed into the next bridge. But
Sure.
Yeah, I suppose like the diagram in Figure 2 in the previous slide showed it stalled, so it's landed belly.
Yeah,
It's landed on its belly. So I guess it kind of probably broke up on between hitting the bridge and hitting the drink. It
I
probably
believe
broke
the
up at that
plane
point, and
did
most people
break
died
up
in that
is
bit.
one of the big issues. And water is a much softer target than a bridge. So yeah,
those speeds for sure. Yeah.
So anyway, all said and done, 74 of the 79 people on the plane were dead.
Jesus.
4 people driving over the bridge were also killed. 4 people on the bridge were also only injured, and I don't know how do you explain that to insurance.
Well, at least back in the day, you could get a human being on the phone.
That's
so
a
you
good
could,
point, yeah.
Okay, there's not a box on the form to take for hit by plane.
Threatened
But
to take my car to Cuba?
Hello, State Farm. Yes, someone crashed a plane into my car.
just there's a box on there for like actions of Floridians.
Yeah.
yeah.
Reconstructions by the NTSB determined that due to anti-ice being turned off, the plane was at a 1.7 engine pressure ratio rather than the 2.04 as recommended for takeoff in these conditions. That's enough to get off the ground, but not enough to compensate for the icing or to get out of a stall. And, ultimately, this came down to pilot error, right?
I'll say.
When you say pilot error in the airline industry, that's a lot different from like, I don't know, the railroad industry where it would be like, well, the engineer fucked up and everyone moves on with their lives. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's nothing we can do.
The airline
Move on.
regulators
Yeah.
actually look into these things and make recommendations to stop this from happening, right? It was found that the flight crew was probably too inexperienced. The training programs at Air Florida were not comprehensive. Generally, Air Florida needed to change their procedures and really emphasize how to operate the aircraft in winter, especially now that they weren't just flying exclusively in sunny Florida now.
They're flying into Stockholm.
there's a lot
is
of it, actually.
regularly snowy.
This is the thing, right? This is a sort of like danger inherent to kind of like meteoric capitalist rise, right? Like, this is a business success story. It's going great. Investors love these guys. And it's like, yeah, and they're growing in a way that is like unsustainable and unsafe.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a really common story in air crashes. Actually, that story, particularly with low costs. Indonesia have had this, like Thailand had it, of the massive rapid rise of low cost airlines, and the staffing can't keep up, so everyone's inexperienced. Training can't keep up. You know, the aircraft getting enough new aircraft in or keeping on top of maintenance can't keep up. Yeah, really common story. Yeah.
Yeah, and ultimately, it was determined that had any one thing not gone wrong here, right? If there had been more substantial de-icing, if they had activated the anti-ice on the engine, or if they even just anticipated and quickly pulled out of the stall, this flight would have been recoverable. You would have been able to keep going.
The classic Florida cheese model.
Right.
Yes, exactly.
Ugh.
Yeah, like why they didn't apply more throttle when they both of them were feeling that there wasn't. Well, okay, the first officer as pilot flying was feeling that it was not moved. They just apply more throttle, get more throttle in there. Right?
I don't exactly know how that works, because I'm not sure if they like were using the auto throttle.
Oh, don't worry, we'll hear about it in the comments.
Would have come and like been confused by the EPR reading, or I don't know. I'm going to be honest. It's one of those things where.
But you can always override it. You know, if you apply for if they if the pilots have, pushed onto throttle and applied it, it's a 737-200. It's not it's not an Airbus. So you push the throttle forward, you get more throttle. It would automatically deactivate the auto throttle. So yeah, I'm stumped by why they didn't. But it's not entirely on them. Their training was inadequate. They were collectively too inexperienced. Like they could have had one of them inexperienced, but the other one more experienced. But they didn't do that. Yeah, it's. As you say, one thing would have solved this.
Yeah, they managed to do. All the things went poorly.
Everything went wrong. Yeah.
Air Florida's reputation was ruined. Their finances were already a little shakier than they were during their meteoric rise in the late 70s. But this accident really put a bunch of nails in the coffin. Right? Passengers stopped booking Air Florida. Unless they were trying to go to Cuba. The airlines started shrinking, but they refused to cut their unprofitable prestige routes to like Europe and to the Northeast of the United States, which was at that point, the Northeast routes to Florida were dominated by Eastern Airlines, which was a stalwart of the industry and would never go under, obviously. They filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in 1984. And they were absorbed into Midway Airlines over the next 10 months or so. And then I think Midway went bankrupt not too long afterwards. This is the airline industry was not in a great place in this sort of decade or so. Lenny Skutnik was invited to Ronald Reagan's State of the Union address. And he became a meme.
Okay, yeah.
A 1980s meme.
Oh,
yes. What? Whenever the president invites some regular Joe to the State of the Union, the local press now just calls them a Lenny Skutnik.
Oh, that's a great photo of the guy. He's got an incredible mustache as well.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Love it. Love a mustache. Says guy with mustache. I'm biased.
Roger Olean and Lenny Skutnik both received the Coast Guard's Gold Life-Saving Medal. Arland Williams Jr. also received the award posthumously. Even though the only person Roger Olean had to rescue was himself.
Oh, yeah.
It's like points for trying.
We'll take them where we can get them, man.
Speaks to Lenny
Skutnik's
like nobility of spirit for not being like that guy gets the same thing as me.
He did fuck all. What's he doing here?
Yeah, the Coast Guard Gold Medal for attempted life saving.
And the previously unnamed middle span of the 14th Street Bridge complex was renamed to the Rochambeau Bridge and the span the plane hit was renamed from the Rochambeau Bridge to the Arlen D. Williams Jr. Memorial Bridge.
And the circle is complete. That makes sense. There we go.
Yeah.
R.I.P. to that guy who was stuck, but also did
I was about
encourage
to
people
say,
to go in front of him.
that is a good thing to do if you're stuck in a plane crash in a freezing river. And it is kind of, you look at where they're taking the back of the plane out, and that is pretty close to shore.
Yeah.
It's like, damn.
I can imagine it might have, I can imagine it drifting though. I can see the thing kind of drifting along a bit while by the time they're pulling it out there. It took them 20 minutes to get the helicopter in, so this is probably happening hours and an hour later.
Yeah,
more.
like also, but the other thing is like right around where the plane hit the river, it's like 6 feet deep at most. It really did hit in just the wrong spot.
Yeah. Oof. I mean, it looks fucking cold. Let's be quite honest here.
Oh yeah, that like photo is one of the like
effects.
sort of more viscerally freezing things I've seen.
Don't like that.
Yeah.
Well,
Oof.
What did we learn?
Don't fly Air Florida unless you want to go to Havana.
No, de-ice your own plane, dickheads.
Do not try and like improvise a de-icing solution by just like tailgating.
Again, de-icing is much more strictly regulated, and there's a lot more, mathematics behind it now. It's there's a lot of stuff that pilots have to do in terms of like calculating how long they have between de-icing and actually getting to the runway, and also making sure the plane has been properly de-iced. All this other stuff. The safety manual is written in blood.
Yeah.
This is definitely an instance of that.
Blood and
Just
goop.
don't half-ass this stuff.
Goop,
Yeah.
And goop. The Potomac
Get
River
that
became a little bit more goopy that day.
Yeah, it's pretty goopy already.
Yeah, that's true. The Anacostia is goopy. The Potomac is beautiful, clear waters of the Shenandoah River.
Mm-hmm.
And the other river, I forget which one. What are the...
For a brief time, it was made gloopier
Yes.
Gloopier.
by a bunch of Floridians. Well, just two, actually, in this instance.
Well, we have a segment on this podcast called Safety Third.
Shake hands for danger.
What? Okay.
Hell yeah. My dad had this car. I mean, not this exact car, but like this kind of similar type.
What is this, an E28?
Yeah, with in silver as well. Like,
I'm looking.
I like the BMW 2002s. Those are good. Yeah.
No, maybe E28. Yeah, no, I might not be getting my. If it's because anyway. Okay, it's a Beamer of that era. It's E28 era ish. Comments shout at me. It's fine.
Ahoy, November. Yar, Liam. G'day, Roz. Avast, Devon. And hello to the kid that likes the trains.
Hey, I've found out recently I'm possibly the oldest person here.
I'm Pirate Jeff, and I'm going to regale you with a tale of the time I was the scurvy dog on the front line of retail entertainment and commerce.
Oh, God.
My time as an escape room host.
Oh, no.
Ever told you my secret strategy for escape rooms?
Don't go.
Just burst through the walls like the jug of
the Kool-Aid man.
No, you just don't go in the first place. Then you've already escaped.
Yeah, that works.
I've beaten every escape room.
Solved it.
Anyway,
that's it.
I worked in a multinational arcade and bowling corporation that had special chains of high-end. I'm going to assume this is supposed to be barcades, but it says barcodes. A licensed bowling alley that sells a premium experience.
Oh, no.
That included
it's a brothel?
2 escape rooms.
Escape from at the bowling alley.
Yeah.
Panic at the Disco.
You get you get stuck in the pin machine.
I don't want to do that.
No, that's terrifying.
No, that is bad. I imagine those things can really mutilate you if you fuck up.
I look forward to our like bowling machine mutilation safety third.
Didn't we have
WTYPpod@gmail.com. Right
Yeah.
in.
I got.
Didn't we have a bowling machine safety third
Oh, we did,
years
yeah.
ago? Not me. I was just a lowly listener at the time. I'm sure you did.
think
got
we did.
sucked into the ball return.
I'll show you a ball return.
Oh, here it is.
Oh. Yeah,
What-
continue.
One of these escape rooms was based on old pirates' tales, and the other was based on the
I like
myth
pirates.
of Poseidon and the lost city of Atlantis. They were both rooms lined with polystyrene drywalls, complicated puzzle electronics that were handmade for the rooms, which all ran off a strawberry pie. Is that a new kind of
Question
raspberry
marks.
pie?
Yeah, I don't. That would be an error. I don't know.
And wired to work on a European power board, even though it was in Australia.
Okay.
Management liked to run the room with the main lights off to make it harder. That also meant you couldn't see the trip hazards on the floor or really read the clues. The place was a fire hazard, so they built it right next to the fire exit just in case.
Oh, yeah, that makes it completely safe. Fine. Good. Yep. Okay.
Atlantis had a waterfall made out of a single line of hose and a fish tank pump. It needed a chlorine pill in it every time we filled it up because the water would evaporate inside because the air conditioning was broken and cause black mold to grow in the walls.
Oh, it's J.K. Rowling's house.
Patrons would either be drunk or 8 years old, so they would just yank and tear at anything that might look like a clue. They were ripping lights out of their sockets and clawing like rats at puzzle boxes.
Oh no.
Incredible. Also, really enjoyed Yank and Tear from the
Yeah.
Kids Bop version of the Doom soundtrack.
I had to watch and monitor their progress on a screen with headphones on. So imagine having to listen to escape room audio for over 4 hours each shift. Children screaming at the most basic stimulation. Adults traumatizing and yelling at their children. Having to listen to a moron solve a puzzle you know like the back of your hand. It drove me mad. I once got chastised by a manager in short pants that didn't like that I had evacuated the escape room when the fire alarm went off because the floor manager hadn't said to do that over the radio yet.
Uh-huh.
I eventually got fired when, after a long shift at work, I got drunk at the bar and decided to drive drunk on Wagwan Midnight, which is some kind of Japanese car game, I believe. I used my staff card to upgrade my BMW 2002 Turbo and race other customers.
Well, I heard drive drunk, and I'm like, okay, not a fan of this. But now you tell me that this is how you drove drunk.
Yeah.
You drove drunk on an arcade cabinet. That's cool. Like
Yes.
doing the actually, I'm not only am I good to drive, but like it makes me a better driver.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They said I had
the number of
stolen.
hours I played Driver 2 half cut. Like, yeah, that's like absolutely good stuff.
They said I had stolen $50 worth of value from the
Good.
company for using my staff card to play free games.
What? Yeah, fuck them.
No fun allowed.
Turns out later they had criminally underpaid me for my work, so they had to pay out upwards of $1,000 dues, which is
Nice.
what they call them in Australia.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
Famously, yeah.
Yarg Boy now works in the dodgy world of exhibitions and event setup. Thanks for all your hard work, Pirate Jeff. P.S. Give November her goddamn mail.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Shut up.
that's real. That's real.
Thanks, Pirate Jeff.
Thank you, Pirate Jeff.
Thank you, Pirate Jeff.
getting lapped by a pirate in a BMW 2002 Turbo.
Yarr.
Yarr, I love
That's
pirates.
the sound. That's the engine note.
Yeah.
Yeah, quite. Yeah.
Turbocharged. No.
Really getting an urge to play it. Well, the people will be sounding off in the comments about that too. I'm really getting an urge to play Driver now. I don't know why it's reminding me of that game particularly, but
The sound of the turbo dumping is like
maybe
a parrot.
maybe it was the mention of
Gran
Havana
Turismo.
so many times. That's maybe what it was. So yeah, because you could drive around Havana in the first game, of course.
Oh,
Take this video game to Havana. Yes.
Well, you're gonna have to, to Air Florida and Flight Simulator first.
Yeah. All right, let's get out of here under 2 hours.
Yeah,
I know. Look at this: 1 hour 58:41 seconds.
that was safety third.
Shake hands with danger.
Our next episode will be on Chernobyl. Does anyone have any commercials before we go?
Buy Garrett's book.
Buy the
tickets
book.
to the tour.
Buy the book.
Buy the tickets
Buy
to
the
the
book,
tour.
buy tour tickets. Stay tuned for all exciting tour news that hasn't already come out. Actually, I don't know if there is any exciting tour news coming up, but the tour, buy the tickets. Listen to all of our respective many podcasts, of which there are dozens. And have a nice time. Don't fly Air Florida, which you can't anymore because they went bust.
Never use Reddit.
Never use Reddit. Yeah.
Never use
Joe.
Reddit. Never use Reddit, and also always.
Never go on Reddit.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, exactly. Just always never go on Reddit.
Yeah.
Good night, everybody.
Night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.